he will make Blackpool defensively more aware. We're certainly going to hear about old-fashioned methods. Will his arrival get Blackpool away from the bottom? Mick McCarthy is back in the Championship up at Blackpool after a whirlwind 24 hours or so sees Michael Appleton out and the return of Big Mick. Appleton got the boot yesterday at just before 3 p.m. with a short statement on the Blackpool website simply announcing the news and thanking Appleton and his assistant David Kerslake for their work at the club. I hate to say, this never really smelled too good from the word go, really, did it? Appleton was at Blackpool 10 years ago and the fans there have not forgotten him quickly jumping ship for nearby Blackburn after barely 2 months in the job. On the pitch, results have not been good. Poole are in the relegation zone and tellingly, with 26 points from 27 games, are below that vital 1 point per game standard that on average will keep you in the Championship. Appleton was known for a pretty progressive style, and I did find his Lincoln team, who ironically lost in the playoff final to Blackpool, pretty pleasing on the eye. Judging by the replacement, it looks like we're going to get a bit of a pivot in strategy and style at Bloomfield Road. And that pivot means the return of a bit of a Championship legend in Mick McCarthy. Now, whilst we must acknowledge and respect McCarthy's body of work in management that now spans 30 years and over 1,000 games in the dugout, the big hits did come a fair while ago. Those big hits, namely the 2 Championship titles with Sunderland in 2005 and Wolves in 2009, as well as the first half of that run with Ipswich. Since then, it's not been quite so stellar, with a minuscule run in Cyprus lasting just a couple of months. McCarthy did get off to a great start after taking over at Cardiff in January of 2021. A quick winning streak put the Bluebirds into the playoff spots temporarily with 12 to play, but they could not quite keep pace with Bournemouth and Barnsley over the final games of the run-in. Unfortunately, Mick's sign-off at Cardiff was beyond dismal, with a cringe-inducing run of 10 defeats in his last 11 games. Just 1 goal in the last 8, seeing Cardiff free falling towards the bottom of the table and McCarthy headed quickly for the door. So, what will McCarthy bring to Blackpool? Well, I think that we can be pretty certain about how it's going to look. He'll immediately focus on defensive solidity, team shape, being good without the ball, and being hard to beat. Look forward to constant tweaking from the technical area in game, and to be fair, he is very good at identifying space and positioning his chess pieces into a robust setup. We also know good old Mick will have the players and the press absolutely eating out of his hand. The character and man management skills have been cultivated over many a year, and the blunt, dry-humoured, witty Yorkshireman one-liners will be plentiful. If we're fairly certain about McCarthy's personality and likely strategy on the pitch, then what about the most important question? Will his arrival get Blackpool away from the bottom of the table? Let's outline the pros first. The players will love him, they always seem to, and he will make Blackpool defensively more aware and probably harder to beat. He's done this gig before with Ipswich, who were actually in a worse position, bottom of the table at the start of November in 2012, but that was a whole 14 games earlier in the season than we are right now. In defence of McCarthy's recent Championship work, even though there was a horrible tit-for-tat breaking down of the relationship with the fans in the second half of his run at Ipswich, he was very much the victim of an absentee owner there trying to get his job done whilst constantly having his spending cut. And at Cardiff, yes, I accept it's very hard to defend a run of 10 defeats in 11 games to close things out there. But we know even from this past week in the Championship that the Bluebirds have not necessarily been the easiest club to manage this past few Championship seasons. As for the cons, look, it may be unreasonable to say, but we're certainly going to hear about old-fashioned methods and the game's moved on. Different manager, different club, but Steve Bruce bears some similarities to Mick, and that in 2022 at West Brom really did not work. We're right slap bang in the middle of a transfer window, which on the one hand is a pro, but you'd prefer to be bringing someone in prior to a transfer window. Mick does have a tendency in this situation to go to familiar faces who have been previous players, and the old proper bloke around the dressing room signings just might not get the uplift that they used to when McCarthy was Mr. Championship manager back in the day. Let me know how you see it going down in the comments. Appleton out, McCarthy in. Will he save Blackpool? I probably at this point need to point you towards my Who's Going Down video from the start of this month, which has far more detail on this relegation race and feels very pertinent. If you haven't seen that one yet, click up here in just a second or two, and I'll end by saying that this week's Blackpool v Huddersfield head-to-head might be a battle that continues well on towards the end of the season in more ways than one.